Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined as always by Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. And we've got a bunch of games here on Tuesday night for you, an 8-game slate. In this one, we're taking a look at the Thunder and the Dubs, who do have Steph Curry back, coming off a somewhat befuddling loss to the Lakers, who are kind of good right now. So we'll see how that goes. They are our other game video as well, as they're taking on the Grizzlies tonight. So make sure to like and subscribe to that page. Also check out our player props that we're bringing you each and every weekday. Also want you to head to thelines.com. You can check out all of our great written content in the NBA and more this season. Right now, we are full swing on the NBA as we are coming down the stretch here. Plenty of player props all over the site for you guys each and every day. Also want you to check out that odds finder tool we have up there. You can make sure you're getting the best juice back on all these bets you're making. Really easy to see what the odds are from all these sports books giving you guys bets this season. Nate, let's go ahead and jump into this 8-game slate here and then talk about our game with the Thunder and the Dubs.
Yeah, we got Washington -7 at Detroit and Milwaukee -7 at Orlando. Then an intriguing one, Philly +2 at Minnesota with the Sixers on a back-to-back. Hornets are +10 at the Knicks, who might be without Jalen Brunson, but Emmanuel Quickley suddenly the favorite for Sixth Man of the Year. I know we both hit Malcolm Brogdon, hoping the body of work is greater than Quickley's last couple weeks. But Nets are -6 at Houston. The Warriors we will talk about here, -4.5 at OKC, 243 total. Jazz +9 at Dallas with a total up to 237. And then the Grizz, a pick 'em basically at the Lakers, totals at 225. We break that one down for you in a separate video. This one I feel pretty good about. I mean, the Warriors, we know about their road woes, 6 straight road losses against teams that are all in playoff position in the West right now, including 2 in a row to the Lakers. Their last road win, Josh, at OKC with Steph Curry going for 38 and 12 and hitting 8 threes. And the river returns here against the team that they have routinely beat up because OKC, I mean, often has not been trying to win games. We don't really know where their motivations are at right now. I mean, they sat Shea for a few games, and he's back, and they did beat the Jazz, which is a key win for trying to move back in that play-in tournament, but right now they're out of it. And the key here, I mean, Kendrick Williams is out, who's a kind of an underrated defensive piece for them. Jalen Williams is legitimately questionable. He's coming off a career-high 32 to get them that win. They're no longer just the SGA show, and the SGA show doesn't work against the Warriors, first of all. I mean, 7 games with the Thunder against the Warriors, averaging 20 points a game, which is way down for him. 104 offensive rating, way down. His turnovers almost as high as his assists, and he's a -55 in his last 3. So the Warriors will thrive on that kind of, you want to play one-on-one with us. We will have Draymond sit at the back and call out the defense like a quarterback, and we'll force you into bad situations. And so if even more is on his shoulders because Jalen Williams isn't playing, I love that matchup for the Warriors defense. And was it just recently that Draymond kind of called out his teammates publicly about, the effort they're putting in defensively, the want to? So we'll see if they respond with that, because in this 6-game loss span, I mean, the Warriors offense has still been there. It's just like an atrocious defense, giving up 125 a game, giving up the most assists a game in those losses. But the Thunder, not really a spread it around assist team. They are limiting second chance, points off turnovers. That's what you want to see. And they're hitting threes. Like I said, the offense is flowing. Of course, you have Steph Curry back. That's going to help. And now you have point Dante DiVincenzo, whose role is basically just to cut, get the ball, move, and then find one of these sharpshooters for easy looks, which he was doing down the stretch. And that's why we're both confused. Like, how did they actually lose to the Lakers? It was working. But yeah, I don't think they have better splits than against the Thunder here. It is a get-right matchup. Like I said, 8 straight wins, 7-1 against the spread, hitting 21 threes on 48 attempts at a 43% clip, 35 assists per game, and then holding the Thunder to just 102. So and that margin of victory is 21.5 here. And we're talking about a 4-point spread. 8-point win the last time they were in OKC. I feel pretty good about the spread here. Feel pretty good about the Dubs.
Yeah, I mean, I do too. I'm just a little bit shook from that loss last game, but they came out flat. And every time that they needed they got within, let's say 6 to 8 points. AD just brought it right back to double digits, and I think he's going to do that again against the Grizzlies, as we talked about in that video. In this one, yeah. It's eight in a row. They own this team. There's a little bit of a mental edge going on here. There has to be. It sounded like SGA was going to have his minutes restricted a bit because he was coming out of the COVID protocol over the weekend, and he also had a bit of a hip thing. And then he scored 38 points on Sunday in their win over the Jazz, and he played 37 minutes. So I don't really know if they're shutting him down or not, but the mind games of the injury report continue for the Oklahoma City Thunder. If they have everybody in this game, and that definitely includes Jalen Williams, who's a freaking stud. Love that dude. And you called a bunch of his stuff the other night, by the way, as well, to win us a bunch of money on those player props. But in this one, like, I don't know. I think that it's really the best bet here is just the Dubs, to be honest with you. 242 points is absolutely absurd, as we know. And it's not like these teams are incapable of doing that, as they've done it twice this season, getting into the 248, 255 range there in those two games, one, home and home. So, but you look at last season, it was a lot different. I'm not really looking at last season. Obviously, much different teams. They went under a ton in those games last season because of the fact that there was nobody playing for Oklahoma City for a lot of the season, and then there was a couple guys missing games. Clay was still coming back from injury at that point. Whatever. Point is like this is a new era. There's going to be points. I don't know if there's going to be 242 of them, but I believe in what the Dubs have been doing as of late. Not great defense on the road, we know that, but they have been limiting things like points in the paint, second chance points. They've been getting a lot more of those dirty, play, sort of scrappy plays, if you will, and hustle stats that they were missing for a while, which is surprising because Wiggs still hasn't really been playing at all, just once in the last 10 games. So this is a direct, result of someone like Dante DiVincenzo, not only being point Dante, but he's a Swiss Army knife because he's also had a game with 10 boards in the last 8 games, right? And then he's had a game with 10 assists and his career high as well. Actually, I think it was 11. So I love what he's bringing to their team because they needed sort of almost like a Pat Connaughton type, if you will. You can shoot threes and you can sort of, handle the ball a bit, but you also have that athleticism to really, help out down low a little bit more and be almost like Mikal Bridges light, if you will. So from that standpoint, I think that's why they've been a little bit better on defense and getting those stats that they were getting crushed in when it came to just hemorrhaging points in the paint. Draymond is a guy I really want to take in player props tonight because of the fact that he also plays so well against this team. There was a couple, he got hurt a little bit in the LA game where he had to miss a few minutes before he came back because it was an injury to his finger that he's had for a while now. And he's just probably going to have it despite that he's playing through a lot of pain. He's going to keep playing. He's not going to miss any more time down the stretch. They really are. I think they do see this as still an opportunity for them to be able to compete in the Western Conference playoffs. So I think this is a game they know they can't afford to lose. The way that they go sort of back and forth, I know it's a road game, but with everything in their favor here against OKC, I think this is a good opportunity to take them to cover 4.
Yeah, I mean, it's the way OKC defends them that's so troubling. Is I mentioned the stunning amount of 3-point attempts, which when you're giving those up to the Splash Brothers is to say a high percentage of makes. And against all opponents in their last 7, they're giving up the 6th most attempts. So it's just not disciplined enough. I mean, you can do whatever you want, but when Steph Curry's out there, he's probably going to get him or his teammates a good look from 3. And then the Warriors are just shutting them down. 29% from 3 for OKC, hitting under 10 per game. So simple math. If you're going to hit on average 11 more threes than the other team, you should be able to cruise to victory here. And the rebounding numbers have not been great from OKC either. Like I mentioned, Kenrich Williams is their small ball 5. This is the guy you're going to need against the Warriors. Definitely, if Jalen Williams misses, you should hit this immediately. But I think either way, the Warriors, they need this win. Like you said, they're just holding off. They need to hit another gear right now, not just for the standings, but just for that feeling of confidence because they're going to be on the road in the playoffs, and these home road splits have got to be troubling internally. When you think about that, they're going to have to start treating it like a playoff situation to prove to themselves that they can get road wins when they need to.
100%. Yeah, I fully agree. It's one of the crazier stats of all time right now, to be honest, that they've won 7 games on the road. And that means that the bulk of their wins have come at home, something like 25, 26 wins. I don't know where you're going to see that again. I thought it might stop at some point. But I think in this one, once again, the fact that the Dubs are playing the Thunder, I'm just going to take that to trump whatever weirdness has been going on for them on the road. As you said, especially if Jalen Williams doesn't play. What a crazy thing to say, that if rookie Jalen Williams doesn't play, that this team isn't going to be nearly good enough to beat the Dubs, but I believe it. So
we got Grizz, basically a pick 'em here at the Lakers, +1 for Memphis. Totals at 226, not moving much. It's a fair total. It's very, very tough to pick either way. I mean, the Lakers trend under without LeBron, as we know. And Memphis, I mean, I guess we got to lead with the fact that there's no Ja Morant, and they're still without Steven Adams, and Brandon Clark's out for a year now. And those two guys are absolutely vital for what they do in terms of owning the paint. We've talked, this is probably like our 5th show where we're talking about how badly they're missing Steven Adams and how we want to fade them on the road. And once again, yeah, they're 2-8 without Steven on the road. The only wins at Detroit and Houston, teams that have the worst records in the NBA, just to reiterate. And I mean, their saving grace, it's without Ja, it's Tyus Jones ball now, which is to say it's just like solid team basketball, which is to say we're going to move it around, make the extra pass, and try to hit threes. And Memphis is not a good 3-point shooting team. They happened to get really hot against the Clippers last time out. Hit 18 threes at a 53% clip. That might be probably a season high, just completely unsustainable. And then that was for a 51-point third quarter. And then the Clips just gave them the clamps, and they scored 17 in the fourth to somehow lose. I don't know the last time somebody had a 51-point quarter and lost. They gave up 35 free throw attempts to the Clippers. And then this is the biggest rebounding margin I think I've ever seen. 53-26. Giving up 13 offensive rebounds to the Clippers. Not an extremely good rebounding team either. And I mean, this is what now we're talking about the Anthony Davis Lakers, which is to say, like, they got to board up. They're gonna have to press those margins and get free throws. Second highest free throw rate behind the Sixers over their last few games here. So it's definitely ripe for the Lakers to have some success down low, have some success getting to the line and limit. I mean, they're good 3-point defense at home, so limit Memphis being able to do that. Without Ja, they're not as good in transition. And I mean, there's some numbers like Bane and Jaren Jackson are going to step up. You'd think they don't have great numbers against the Lakers by any means. Bane, 17 points per game in his career. Pretty efficient from 3, but that's not as the number one option. And Triple J has really been, kind of worked by Anthony Davis. 9 career against AD, 13 points per game on a 99 offensive rating. Pretty much a non-factor. He's much worse on the road. The Grizz offense in general, much worse on the road. They just don't do anything particularly well on offense. If you look at their road, I couldn't find one thing that they're top 10 in even percentage of points scored, which is to say there's no consistency. Like, what do they do? And then on the road, they're the second lowest offensive rebounding rate. Like I said, struggling to board up. That's all about want to and effort, and it's got to be really deflating for them to have this situation with Ja, which we just anyone who hasn't heard about it, yeah, he's just brandishing a gun on his social media page, and so he's out indefinitely from the team. Who knows when he's coming back, and that's really got to weigh on the players too, because it's like, who knows when our guy's coming back, in addition to the fact that we don't have 2 vital bigs. And the Lakers are absolutely desperate. So I think they will be able to capitalize on this situation and get the win at home. Anthony Davis leading the way.
Well said. The thing about Ja too is he was in a nightclub, by the way, after that Denver game. Interestingly as well, there was apparently a players only meeting literally before that incident happened, where Steven Adams called them together and said everyone needs to start acting better on the road, getting to bed earlier, blah blah blah. And hours later, Ja is suspended from the team for a couple games. Yeah, it's up in the air. What are you going to learn in 2 days or game, like a week of time? What he's going to change everything? It's either come back to the team or not. And he's obviously going to come back at some point. But for this game specifically, down low, big time. I love, for the Lakers, everything going on down there. That's why AD's props are absolutely insane. For him to get 14 rebounds on FanDuel right now only gets you back minus 136 on your money. 29.5 points for him, or 28.5 if you want worse odds. Like, they expect him to go to bananas based on a lot of what you just said. 35 free throw attempts to the Clips, 53 to 26. Like, they got out rebounded by more rebounds than they got. Do that math if you want to figure it out. So, for the last 15 games, I don't know. Is Steven Adams really that important? Like, is he really, really that important? He's more of a situational player. He was getting close to 28 minutes, but when he got hurt, but like, oh man, it's crazy that they would be going from, basically top 2 in second chance points, fast break points. They're still pretty good, obviously, because of Ja, but not getting out on the break quite as much if they can't get a defensive rebound. That's the reason their fast break points have gone down a little bit for them. Still a lot of them, but and then their opponent's second chance points and everything that they're doing, third most second chance points given up. Like, AD's gonna feast. There's just no way he doesn't. Jaren Jackson Jr. is not it against Anthony Davis. Maybe he can do a few things in that one-on-one defensive. He's better. He's obviously going to win Defensive Player of the Year based on his ability to block shots, but that's not a one-on-one matchup with Anthony Davis where he's getting the ball off of a side pick and roll going towards the hoop down the middle of the lane. Like, good luck. Good luck with anybody, even if Steven Adams was there. But that's going to be the entire premise of the Lakers game plan tonight, and obviously it makes complete sense when you look at what they do without Ja. The Grizzlies this season, obviously it's just not the same as last season, where last season they lost him and didn't really miss a beat. This year their offensive rating drops 5 points. They seem to play faster, which is interesting, but their offensive rating is so much worse that they're still not even scoring more points without Ja. Obviously they're scoring more with him. 25 more free throw attempts a game is a huge reason for it. The Grizzlies usually get the edge against their opponents in that case, but as you mentioned, they just hemorrhaged those 35 free throw attempts to the Clips, who also don't even really get to the line that much. Maybe a bit more with Russell Westbrook, but that still hasn't been the bulk of their game. If anything, it's been a knock on PG this season that he hasn't been getting to the line as a guy who should be getting 6 to 7 attempts. So for Bane, yeah, he scores a few more points. But once again, those numbers against the Lakers, it's not a good matchup for him either in this situation. Jared Vanderbilt, as we call, just crushing it on defense, like as good of a wing defender as you could want in the NBA right now, who also gets to, is getting those 8 rebounds as well since he joined the team. So everything favors, it sort of seems to be in LA's favor when it comes to the key stats. Like we said, everything around the rim and then the pace of this game, where I think that the Lakers can kind of limit it. I would lean under as well, except for the fact that the Grizzlies do seem to play a bit faster without Ja for some reason. Maybe they're just trying to get it and go to avoid the fact that they don't have him and they don't have much in a set offense without him breaking a defense down. But they're still unable to get the same amount of fast break points, defensive rebounds. So I do like LA in this one as well. I liked it when they had it at like plus 2.5 and still really like it with them as the favorite.
Yeah, I don't really understand how the Lakers beat the Warriors again, despite Steph coming back and being Steph. Really, it was just AD being clutch down the stretch, right? It is the get on my back scenario that we talked about, joked about, and their offense is really pulled up now without LeBron because you have a healthy Anthony Davis. They were averaging just like 108 without him. Now they're up to 112 on the season. They have tended to go under without Brown, but over in 2 of their last 4, including the last time they were at Memphis. So that is why we shy away from it a little bit. 3-point percentage better without Westbrook. If you look at since that shook up, since the trade where they got better. We didn't even mention D'Angelo Russell's questionable again. Honestly, that's probably a plus in terms of a two-way player. Austin Reeves, not a great defender either, but just he's helpful enough on offense. The Lakers' depth is just better than the Grizzlies at this point because they're missing those key guys. You're talking about guys like Roddy and LaRavia now stepping in to try to take their turns on AD. Doesn't seem like it's going to go that well. By the way, that last win for Memphis, Ja led them with a 39-point triple-double. He also led them to 2 wins over the Lakers the last couple seasons with 40-plus. And AD in that last game had 5 blocks. So while his other props are ridiculously high, I am interested in like the 3 blocks or the 4 steal/blocks as he becomes that kind of clutch stopper. Memphis is a team that will try you down low, right? Especially if the 3's not falling. So that's why he got the 5 blocks. I think that is pretty sustainable if you're looking at a prop in this game.
100%. And I just want to bring up one more point that actually extends a bit out further than down low, as we keep talking about that as the key area for the game. The other area that I get to now talk about the Lakers being good at is wing defense and wing offense. And they now have an advantage over a team last year that had DeAnthony Melton in Memphis. They had Kyle Anderson, who was as versatile of able to play down low, but also able to play out on the wing as well. And now, you talk about Jared Vanderbilt, Malik Beasley, and company being there for the Lakers. And even Rui. It's just how it works. It's what we've been talking about since they lost Kuzma and KCP and Caruso. And now we should be talking about it once again for this Memphis team, who is not as good and not as deep as they were last year, because they didn't seem to think that they needed a guy like DeAnthony Melton, who's coming up huge right now as a defensive player, covering the best player on the other team all the time for the 76ers this season. So another advantage for the Lakers right now that they wouldn't have had like 3 weeks ago. So interesting times. Nate, let's go ahead, jump right into your first play a prop for tonight. Get right into it with Mr. Ant-Man on those T-Wolves.
Yeah, I mean, I think this will be a good matchup. For our offense, I don't really have the balls to take an over the way Minnesota plays defensively, but I have the balls to take Anthony Edwards individual overs because he's now seeing a huge lion's share of the playmaking responsibilities since they parted ways with D'Angelo Russell. He's been really inefficient lately as a shooter because of maybe those increased ball handlings, but also 8 of their last 10 games have been on the road, averaging 24 points, 4.5 assists in those games. But you look at home since the start of January, 27.5 points, 5 assists, 33% usage rate. That usage rate is up to 32 consistently without D'Angelo Russell now. His last 3 against Philadelphia, which I got to talk more about this particular matchup. Again, inefficient shooting, but 20 points, nearly 6 assists, playing 40 minutes a game. And the usage only 27% because D'Lo also had a 27% usage rate, scored 25 a game, handled a lot of the rock. But this is Philly, right? So assists are really the intriguing thing here, and it's plus 125 for Ant to get 5 assists. If you just want to get the best odds available, I would look there. I think you can combine 30.5 points at assists because there should just be a lot of stats flowing here. If you look at how Philly's been shredded by athletic guards recently, starting with last night with Tyrese Halliburton, 39 and 17, where we were just like, let's hope for a double-double. Let's hope for 10 assists. And he just goes off and just roasts this team. Drew Holiday, double-double on Saturday, 26-13. And Kairuka combines for 82, both of them getting 40 more dimes if they needed to, but they don't because Philadelphia's defense is just abysmal on the road now in these last 3 road games, giving up 135, playing at a 99 pace, which is really fast for them, and 5th worst opponent's 3-point percentage. So maybe Ant gets going from there. He's been struggling a bit lately, but I think a little home cooking here after a 4-game road trip. I do think he scores over 25. But the assists are even more intriguing with the juice there.
Yeah, one correction. Tyrese had 40 points last night. He hit a shot at the very end. That was a 3 to get himself to 40 as time was running out for no reason, to keep them within 4 and probably piss off a lot of people who might have had Philly minus like 6.5, where it basically ended, and they were covering that by 3. Then Tyrese hit that last second 3 to get himself 40 points. We love it. Whatever. We picked the Pacers, the over, and a ton of stuff for Tyrese. So love that game. I think plenty more for Ant tonight. I think it is a good get right game for his sort of off shooting that he's been a little bit, but want to give the dude his flowers as well because he's been a huge reason they've been so good on defense as a unit since, especially since getting rid of D'Lo, which will help that. I'm gonna go. You know what? I'm gonna go with my preferred bet here next that I'm going to talk about with everybody, which is Mr. Walker Kessler. Walker Kessler tonight in the Jazz, taking on that Kairuka tandem there and the Dallas Mavericks. I like 20.5 points and rebounds for him at minus 120 on MGM. That's the best place to get it. It's like minus 125 on DraftKings if that's where you have your account. The double-double I really like, plus 135 on DraftKings because the 9.5 rebounds, maybe you want to get the better juice than the points and rebounds. I just know that the Mavs give up a ton of points to centers numbers as well. This is why I kind of like getting his points in there. But the rebounds themselves are like plus 115 to get 10. So it's basically just like, do you think if you don't want the double at plus 135 because you're not sure about the points, which I do like, but you like the rebounds, 9.5 rebounds is great too. The blocks is interesting because it's 2.5 blocks for him, and he's averaging 4 of those, better than 4 in his last 6 overall. And it's just that he's got to block some threes because that's where all of Dallas's shots are coming from. That's why that they allow only like 2.9 blocks per game against their team, is because the only person who's ever shot inside the paint is either Luka or Christian Wood this whole season. So there's not much reason to believe that there's going to be blocks available for him nearly as much. But 2.5 is a pretty good number for to get plus 115 if you're interested. Dallas is dead last since their trades in terms of allowing points in the paint, where it's like 61, which is a ton. 25th in allowing second chance points, 20th in opponents rebounding. And in 2 games versus Dallas that Blocker Kessler has played so far, 13.5 points and 10 boards in 25 minutes. He was still getting a few less minutes at the time when they played Dallas earlier this season. Now he's averaging 30 over his last 10 games, which is a huge thing. Like his per 36 numbers versus this team are incredible and well above a double-double and well above 20.5 points and rebounds. So if he's going to get 30, 31 minutes like he's been averaging, then I really like all of his numbers. The blocks I just threw out there because it's such a low number, but I really don't know that you can get more than 2 blocks against this Dallas team if they're not going to shoot inside the paint, right?
No, and they have 2 finishers who just don't get blocked because they're the best finishers in the world, basically, in the paint. So it's tough to lean on that in this matchup. But the rebounds, we talk a lot about variance with Dallas and how many threes they shoot. So I really do like the rebounds if they're not falling at a ridiculous rate. There should be plenty available there. I think the double-double plus 135 is good because Dallas, Maxi Kleber's probably going to play at this point, but he's more exploitable for a big body center like Kessler than if he's matching up against Dwight Powell or somebody who's a true center. Kleber's probably going to get bodied a little bit down low. I do like this game, as I was thinking over when it was like 232 when it opened. Now it's all the way up to 237, so we did not do a game video on that. But you can still take player props where they don't move, such as Jordan Clarkson, 21.5 points, almost even money, because he was a little rusty after missing like 8 days. Came back at 18 points on Sunday, shot 0 for 5 from 3. Last time he faced Dallas, where they lost against no Kairuka, neither of them played. He had 26 points, though. And also went 0 for 5 from 3. So 15 free throw attempts. That seems sustainable. I mean, with Kyrie and Luka out there, the perimeter defense is going to be worse, not better. He had 22 and 8 assists against Dallas early in the season. He's been better on the road all year in terms of scoring and assists, 21 points, nearly 5 dimes with a 28% usage rate. So it's at 26.5 points assists if you want to get those in there. 21.5 points is good, like I said, for a gunner like Clarkson, because Dallas is playing these ridiculous shootouts right now in 7 with Kairuka together. They're giving up 121, scoring 123. They're giving up the second most assists to point guards in that span. Colin Sexton is out tonight, so Clarkson is going to be that point guard. And I really like what he's going to be able to do here to get the Jazz offense back on track. They really struggled in a few games without him, including only scoring 94 points against the taking Spurs, which is just a head scratcher. But he's back. Hopefully he shakes off the rust after that last one.
That was wild. That was a fun time. That Jazz Spurs game. But no, yeah, Jordan Clarkson, always going to love him. MIZ for sure in that one. And I also like a lot of points. But lastly here, I don't know, Nate. We're talking about a couple of different Warriors players. I think we're brainstorming on air again here as we talk about all these different picks we have. But I'm going to go with Day with Draymond Green because of how well he plays against this Thunder team, because of the fact that that's where the Thunder give up a ton more points and stats is 2 power forwards, and because Steph Curry's back, and that's good for Draymond Green. Against the Thunder in his last 4, all of which Steph played in, he's got 9 points, 10 boards, 5 assists in about 29.5 minutes. That gets you over the 23.5 points, rebounds, and assists that I'm taking for him tonight. I understand the points aren't always awesome with him, but I mean, 9 a game against this team on the road in his last 5, 10 points a game with about 8.5 boards and 5 assists. So it gets you to right around the 23-24. But it's also the matchup, like I said, with the Thunder. The Thunder are giving up the 4th most points to power forwards. They're giving up the most rebounds to power forwards in the league as well. And like I said, with Steph, Draymond is averaging 1 more point per game, 1 more assist per game, and that gets you to 24.5 PRA that he's averaging on the season when Steph is in that lineup. So I like this one. I know you like a little bit of Steph. We thought about Clay, who also historically, crushes the Thunder, although just some of the numbers made his prop to me like pretty much fair, as Mo would say. So what do you feel about one of these Dubs players and their props?
Yeah, I have no problem with Clay getting 24 points where he's at. I think he's going to be force-fed the ball a little bit, which to me is the correlation that Steph's going to have 6 assists or more. He has 22 assists in his last 2 against the Thunder, because that seems to be the way they want to try to defend him, is get the ball out of his hands. And he's going to make plays for other guys, as we saw in his first game back. So I like the plus odds on that. I think, Clay's numbers in general without Steph, or with Steph, are down a little bit. But I think lately, if you really break it down, they are still up. And Steph really just opens things up more for him, as does DiVincenzo, who we talked about in the game video, just adding an element of pace and in the half court and great spacing and cutting to get both those guys open shots. And to me, that makes me skeptical about Draymond, because the ball's going through somebody else's hands. And he's really the defensive captain. To me, it's a fair line. Again, like Mo would say, the 24 PRA for Draymond, we might be right around there at the end of the day.
Yeah, no, I believe it. I'm leaning Steph assist the more you talk about it as well, because that is the Thunder's MO in terms of how they defend him. So that's all the time we have for you guys in this one. Make sure to like and subscribe to that page. Also got our game videos up for you today. And we are staying wicked hot with these player props, so want to make sure to like and subscribe. And until we see you next, happy betting.